I think it's time we conclude the Clash of Ninja saga. Fighting games are much more than just giving us the chance to punch our friends in the face. They are an extremely undervalued genre in my opinion, possibly because their learning curve requires much more time and effort to learn to get the full potential of the game compared, for example, to games like Call of Duty or, I don't know, Resident Evil. Yes, those games also have their own depth in mechanics, but are never used as an excuse to say that you are too lazy to learn to play. This, on the other hand, is the daily complaint of fighting games. So the Clash of Ninja saga showed interest in fighting mechanics from the beginning. They could have made a poorly polished copy of what Ultimate Ninja was, but they went for the hard way. While Ultimate Ninja's gameplay is direct, with exaggerated hitboxes and aimed to be a party game, Clash of Ninja has a very marked rhythm as an experimental fighting game. But well, we already highlighted that in previous videos. What I want to say is that the essence of a really polished fighting game, I finally felt it with its latest installment, Revolution 3. When we start playing, they show us practically the same thing, an intro with images from the anime, not with the game engine, Sakura guiding us through the main menu, and the story mode bringing us up to date with the first events of Naruto Shippuden. Initially, there was almost nothing that was convincing me that this was the best Clash of Ninja, as many in the comments had previously told me. The story flowed in a very similar way to the previous installments, only here they did try to make everything to be told with the game engine. The dialogues are all dubbed and even show animations with great fidelity. At this point, I was just waiting for a better detailed story and to see the new movesets of the adult versions of these characters. I'm pleasantly surprised by how the game uses the objectives of each mission to give the fights a distinctive touch. In a certain way, it conditions you to make it more unique. Finishing with a specific move or remaining with a certain percentage of chakra is pretty entertaining for me. In fact, there's one in particular that is very ingenious, since it's a must feature in Naruto Shippuden games at this point. We have to play against copies of ourselves, either Guy, Neji, Rock Lee or Tenten due to the Akatsuki Seal Jutsu. In this particular fight in the story mode with the Guy clone, we are asked to beat him like any other opponent, but you can imagine my surprise face when both characters collisioned and began to imitate each other's movements. At first I thought that it had been a strange coincidence, but yes, it turns out the opponent imitates our movements, which makes it a bit more complicated for us to reduce his health without ours being affected as well. This is where the game requires you to think differently in any other way to attack. Moving behind a rock, for example, will make the timing of the first attack different, so when you send the first hit, your rival will do it before, but at a safe distance. Then, due to the recovery time, your character manages to attack first, and from there, since both are out of time, they make the same movements but not always in neutral favor. It was a very creative little challenge. Little by little, with these duels, the moves are coming to shine, and I must say that I like them a lot. Not only because they adapted them to the adult versions, but also they gave them a bit more agitated pace. Some of that rough feeling from previous games had completely disappeared. It must also be taken into account that the team matches didn't disappear, they were still there, in addition to offering more secret team techniques. However, the first one they can show us is the default one that we have been seeing since the previous game, so that lowered my expectations a bit. As the story progressed, I was noticing the subtle differences in narrative quality. The animations depicting events from the manga and the accuracy of the characters in their dialogues are examples of this. However, this is where the problems that I usually highlight with this type of games begin, at least in the story material. When there's so little material to cover due to the publishers rushing the process to get the developers out of the project as soon as possible, the emphasis begins on small movements where there should be no more than dialogue, or even a text summarizing the interlude. No, here they are insistent on putting fights out of nowhere, like here with Temari, who says, "Grandma Chiyo, I need to go after Gaara and save him. He's my brother." And she says, "No, I'll go." "What are you saying? That I'm just an old woman? You're not putting me aside. Try to beat me to see if I'm so fragile," and bam! New fight. The gameplay is very entertaining, but I can't pretend that this is not a bit incoherent. Apart from that, the story mode has a very marked increase in difficulty, which leaves you challenge after challenge, not only with the tenacity of the opponent but also with the conditions when using our character. Chiyo is horrible to use. In reality, it was only enough to use her for a few minutes to throw away the good feeling of the game that I had. However, it may have something to do with the great difficulty of this fight. Despite being so complicated, it's not the last one of the story mode. After Chiyo revives Sakura, we return to the situations of Naruto and Kakashi with Deidara, where it seems that they lost track of him, but Neji and Tenten intercept him. However, they already went over the line with the difficulty of the fight with Deidara. They easily turned it into something very frustrating. They give you Naruto with a 9 tails chakra so that you can kill Deidara with armor, means that your hits don't generate any kind of stun at any time, means that the guy can attack whenever and however he wants without any kind of restriction. He does damage with a multiplier of 5.0. He deals almost double the damage with each hit, and we don't scratch his health bar every time by miracle we manage to connect a hit. The substitution obviously vanishes in seconds, and Deidara finishes you with 3 hits. Not to mention that the techniques he uses are a pain in the ass to try to get close to him and see if by any chance you do some damage. The explosions have you bouncing all over the place. It's the most clear example of how not to make a boss fight, how not to make a false difficulty. Do you want a hard boss to beat but with a well thought out scheme from the root? Go to Sekiro and you'll have it there. This is just predisposing the players. And well, after so many bad comments, let's see why people think this is a game with an outstanding combat system and is the perfection of the Clash of Ninja formula. After completing the story mode to unlock the rest of the roster, you need to buy the characters with cash. The way to get this money is through separate game modes like challenges, local duels, and survival. But when the characters come into your hands, they all have something distinctive. In the main menu, you can remove objects and obstacles from the stage to make the fight become a little more competitive in terms of matchmaking. The game has several sections that begin to polish the experience little by little. First are the explosive kunais that are used in the vast majority of occasions as combo extensions. The characters have abilities such as command grabs, other jutsus that don't consume chakra. The transformations or awakenings have logging kicks, special substitutions, all characters have comeback moves, there are air grabs, and many movesets were modified in order not only to give innovation to the new versions of the ninja in Shippuden, but to make it one of the most balanced Naruto games so far. The entire community agrees on one thing, and is that to this day is still a roster of characters that almost totally between each other don't have any advantage, except if we talk about Deidara. Damn character is broken. For a roster of more than 40 characters, that's very impressive. That only a couple of characters show a notable imbalance is to be applauded. This is the Naruto, objectively speaking, best made in combat system for a fighting game that has been developed so far. Now, why do you notice that feeling in my voice? Why do I sound like this doesn't convince me? It's because I don't like it. That's right, I'm not a big fan of games with great depth in their game system, especially when the surface of their gameplay is so distant from how it's seen when played in an experienced way. Obviously, you can recognize when a game is well made. It's probably the reason why the title of this video is like this. It's what it deserves. It's a fact that it's a fighting game with care, balance, and coherence in its gameplay system. A tournament in a game like this wouldn't do more than measure the skill of the players, not even with a bit of luck. In the end, it's all a matter of experience. My experience with the game was very regular, if I'm honest. It had me frustrated most of the time and lazy to even unlock characters, because yes, it has a quite lack of content. It leaves me with a bit of a bad taste, but it's the best Naruto fighting game, that's true, but it's not my favorite. I was expecting something different, and I recommend it to that player willing to find a good gameplay system in which to practice and discover very good combinations. Although doing so at this time with a game that is more than 10 years old is a bit complicated. Guys, we have reached the end of the Naruto Clash of Ninja saga, but this is not the end of the Naruto game reviews. We know that we still have a few more to review, with different approaches and new adventures to offer. Thank you for coming this far, guys. That was all for today, and I hope you enjoyed. I'll be watching you in the next video. Take care and see ya.